It's scheduled to be one of the toughest, or not scheduled, it looks like one of the toughest games that Georgia will play in 2023, and that's Georgia at Tennessee. What would the Dogs be favored over against the Vols up there? Well, if you take a look at the SP rankings, SP plus rankings from Bill Conley, he would tell you that on a neutral field, Georgia would be about not quite an 8 point favorite over Tennessee. So that means going up to Knoxville, they're going to be somewhere between 4 and 6 point favorite to beat the Vols. Now, the thing about some of this stuff is it's so far away. We'll have a lot more data by then. To me, honestly, four seems a little bit low. Tennessee a season ago was about a two-touchdown underdog, if I'm not mistaken, to Alabama. I'm going to look that up as I talk, but that's going to be one of those games that no matter what the line is, that's an extremely challenging place to play for Georgia and of well for anyone, frankly. And I think that even though this Georgia team is not rebuilding quite the same way Tennessee is, there's Tennessee had a lot of Alabama was about a 9 point favorite over Tennessee up there, even though Tennessee is rebuilding in a way that Georgia is not. I mean, you lose Hendon Hooker, got a good replacement at quarterback, it looks like, but you lose both receivers, so there's some turnover there for the Vols. But Georgia's got some stuff to deal with too. Obviously, the loss of Stetson Bennett sticks out. He really had two very good games against, well, three almost. Hey, make sure you're picking up Double Dogs today. If you pick it up today, you'll get confetti from Georgia's national championship win over Texas Christian. This is the real deal confetti. So that's the way to get it, is to order it today. We're supposed to have not all of the books, but a slew of books delivered on Friday. So hopefully it'll be Thursday, but we'll see about that. The slight delay by the printer, but everybody will have their books soon enough. Get Double Dogs today. But I think this is gonna be a late season game at Neyland. It's gonna be against the Tennessee team that's pretty good, or should be pretty good. You know, Bill Conley, I've become very curious, very interested in his work lately. The one thing about what he lays out here is that's evident from Tennessee is only three teams in the top 10 for his SP plus rankings have a defense that gives up more than 20 points a game. Those teams are Tennessee, Oregon, and USC. USC has one of the worst defenses in, sort of legitimate college football. One of the worst ones we've seen in a long time. Tennessee's defense last year was really bad too. And I don't know if you can fix that in a season. Josh Heupel has done a really, 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 really good job over time. And so I think that keeping that in mind is an important part of the process um, when we look forward at 23. I just don't, I'm skeptical that they will fix the problems on the defensive side of the ball that quick. And that 11 points difference will it's 11 points difference on the defensive side of the ball. That's a lot. I mean, when you compare Georgia's defense to Tennessee's for SP plus, it's 11. It's 10 points for national rankings from the NCAA a season ago. It was much more than that for the Tennessee defense. They were not anywhere near where they needed to be, and that's going to be the issue coming into this thing. And Georgia gave up 14.3 points a game. That's a fair amount compared to what they did a season before, but it's still an unbelievable, number. Tennessee was at 23. So there's your 10 points right there, basically. And you know, I, I don't know if you can shrink that down. One thing that we talked about coming into 23 of 22 was we thought Georgia's defense would be worse, which it was, but that his offense would be better, which it was. So it's all in the margins of how this would work out. But at the end of the day, you're looking at somewhere around a touchdown favorite or lower for Georgia. This will depend on how Tennessee looks when they get to that part of the season. Same thing for the Dogs. What will it be like for what will it be like for both these teams? It's going to be Tennessee will be the Kentucky of 23. In other words, they will be the team that folks are looking at challenging Georgia in a big way in the SEC East. I mean, obviously, excuse me, a season ago, Tennessee came in that Georgia game with Georgia as the first number one versus number one matchup ever in college football history. So that was a huge game. But when you look at Tennessee's schedule here, I don't see a lot of games that pop out that they're just going to lose. They play Virginia and Nashville, they'll kill them. Austin P, they'll beat them. Got to go to Florida. That's a game that Tennessee should win. You host UTSA, Texas San Antonio, who has been, an adequate team lately. I don't think that they've, been anything Tennessee should be scared about, but they were 11-3 in 22, so they're not going to lose those guys. That would be shocking. South Carolina comes to Tennessee. They lost to Carolina a season ago. I don't see that happening this year. Texas A&M comes to Tennessee. Tennessee probably should win that game, although back to back there, those are tough. You get a week off between Carolina and A&M. And then, of course, then they really do go back to back. You go back to back with Texas A&M, Alabama. Texas A&M at home, then at Alabama, at Kentucky. They're not going to survive that stretch. I mean, they're probably not going to survive it because they got to deal with Alabama. But they definitely could arrive at the Georgia game with one loss, Tennessee. I mean, it's totally possible that they could come into that game with one loss, probably at Alabama, and that the Georgia game, even if Georgia's undefeated at that point, will be for the SEC East. Um, I would think Georgia would win that game, but I want to see what the season, unfolds. I mean, what's Georgia going to look like on offense? But the most challenging games that Tennessee has got, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. Those games, two of the three of them are on the road. If they lose to Florida, that is a red flag for me immediately. Um, that that is a red flag for me immediately. I do not think Florida will beat Utah out there. I also didn't think Florida would beat Utah this season. I think I was correct to think that, but they did. If you look at the Gators, they got a lot of losses on their schedule. There's a lot of, I mean, this back end is tough. They could not win after Halloween. They could not win from middle of October on. I mean, and I know this is video about Tennessee, but they go to Utah, that should be a loss. They host Tennessee, that should be a loss. They go to South Carolina. Let's just say they win that game. Georgia loss. Arkansas at home, they could lose that game, but I won't give it to them. LSU loss on the road at Missouri. Florida State, the Gators losing 5 games is not. I mean, the Gators losing 7 is not out of the realm of possibility. So, if Tennessee loses that game, that opener essentially to the Gators, that's when you know Tennessee's got some problems. If that happens, Tennessee's got problems. But I don't see a lot in Tennessee's way. I also don't see them winning the SEC or the national championship, but I don't see a lot in their way that they can't win. This is a Tennessee team that's pretty good, generally speaking, as a program. I think there will, as usual, there will be doubts, there will be questions, there will be this, there will be that. But if Tennessee can just get their act together and kind of get some momentum, That worked for him in 23. We'll see if it works for him in 24, but I would take the Dogs as it stands today.